Okay, well, listen, hey, Keith here with oh man, world famous Canada Bach. It's good to see you, man. Back from parts unknown, Dubai, I guess, over there, visiting family and friends over there, and now you're back in Canada and back to Beat the Casino, able to log in, and just wanted to welcome you back. We have some questions, and was hoping you could clarify. Some of the F5V5 stuff with me that have come up while you were away, and kind of go from there if that's all right.
Yeah, I mean, I'm actually been following some of your posts when I was back in the Middle East, and it's amazing that the drive roads, the you and Kevin has talked about it in detail. It's amazing how well crafted you have put everything together for the club. I mean, for the members, it's really nice. And I mean, that is just one of the areas you can use towards, you like your toolbox, like Kevin said.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Well, thank you for that. We try to do everything we can for our members, as you know. We're just waiting. Hopefully, you can get down here, next year sometime when things slow down for you, and we can meet in Atlantic City or something like we used to, and tear it up down there at the Gold Nugget with Ron and friends, the bartender, and go out on the deck and have some fun again. But listen, so I was getting some questions about the F5V5, and we have most of the rules. Now, one of the things that they're not real clear on is you kind of add in the vertical and horizontal and maybe some DNA stuff in it. Can you maybe just elaborate on some of the vertical and horizontal confirmations that you're looking for? At a high level, not necessarily specific, but at a high level. When does that come into play? What are you looking for? And, just some general things along those lines, some of the
Yeah,
enhancements.
yeah. I mean, I was watching one of your videos when I was back in Middle East, and this the video that you had a real rabbit on it, and it made me laugh. And he said, you asked him how you're doing with the F5V5, and he said, well, I'm winning 95. I won 95 out of 100 shoes.
Right.
And I'm
Yeah.
like, and I was laughing about it, and I'm like, okay, so you won 95% of your shoes. I mean, in Baccarat, if you can win 52% or 53%, it's considered to be really good, right?
Yeah, right. He was tearing it up.
And the reason why, and in that 5%, it all depends upon what is your win and stop loss, right? So if you
Yeah, I think
if
so.
you
Yeah.
if you lost like 5 in a row, then
Excuse me.
perhaps that's your shoe that you want to walk away from, right? And that's your loss, right?
Yeah.
So, because it can happen, right? But I mean, the way the reason why I'm talking about this is because going back to my vertical and horizontal confirmation is because remember F5V5 is just like derived roads and
Yes.
any other TBL or OTBL, whichever process you have, method that you're going to be using, you also have to have some other ones that you can use towards that if you get into some kind of a jam. So what I'm saying is that realistically, sometimes let's just say you lost 3 in a row, right? So now that's an eye opener because you can lose more. So maybe after losing 3 in a row playing F5V5, and it will happen,
Hmm.
perhaps you shouldn't press your bets to kind of play the next hand. Instead of that, just kind of review what's happening in the shoe. So what I
Yeah.
mean by that is, let's just say you are on a third liner or a fourth liner, right? Or
Right.
banker, and the banker hasn't passed more than 4 in a row, and now you got to play F5 and you lost 3 in a row. Perhaps you should play opposite,
Yeah.
even though
Okay.
you're not supposed to, right?
So that's kind of like the vertical and horizontal confirmation that you're looking for. Is that did it go five? It's never went to five. So is that something that you actually want to bet again?
I mean, I've seen a lot of people play, and I've been going. I mean, since I've been back, I've been going all the time, and watching people play, and I'm just seeing a lot of stuff. And I'm in this specific game. There are only three things you have to remember.
Okay, what's that?
And one of them, you talk about it all the time, is strong side,
Oh yeah,
right?
absolutely.
Especially in the first half of the shoe. When I say the first 30, 40 hands, there are a lot of shoes you'll see where you maybe it'll never go past a second liner, the player, for example, right? Or the banker has like 30 bankers and 10 players, right?
There's
So
that.
it's a strong side. So that's one thing you're watching all of that, you know.
Yeah.
So when you're playing any system or any method, you got to keep an eye on that. That's the number one part, right?
No, that's true. That's
Right.
true.
It is a fact. The other thing is where the vertical and horizontal conformations come in play is that sometimes in a shoe, you'll always see that it will not pass a certain line, meaning that if it's vertical, it's not going to go past four in a row, as an example, right? So you know that it's a win-win situation if you go opposite, right?
Hmm.
If it's horizontal, you have two two runs
Columns.
together,
Yeah.
and then it goes opposite, right? And you get a
Yeah.
break, right? But
Right.
you see that happens within the shoe continuously, where, and I don't think people watch that. Maybe, I mean,
No, they don't.
when you
No.
get a ping, like people say ping pong or chop chop, sometimes your chop chops are not more than two or three or four in a row, right? So
Yeah.
before it breaks and it comes down, right?
Yep.
Like I always say. So you got to watch out for that. So that's number two. That's your confirmations right there for vertical and horizontal. So if you're keeping an eye on that at the same time, you will not lose four, five hands in a row.
Yep.
And the third part is really the fact that you have to see what's happening in the shoe. I mean, for me, it's more about because okay, so I follow naturals more than anybody.
Yeah,
You know,
you do. Yes.
I sat down on a $500 table a couple of days ago, and I was just sitting there with my DNA, right? And I was
Right.
watching the naturals, and I tell you, it was crazy that everybody was betting like $4,000, $5,000 or whatever you want to call it, and I
Hmm.
was maybe putting just 500, and they were following me, and they were asking me to open it because of the naturals, because they saw that this guy, every time a natural comes, he seems to be doing very well.
Yeah.
But they were
Yeah.
initially betting against what I was doing, and they were losing, right? And so, as an example, the naturals is a good example, and that it can really support you, right?
Yes.
Right.
Yep.
So I mean, stuff like that you have to, think about. I think there's a guy on a thread. His name is Government and Blue, Gov and
Oh
Blue.
yeah, government blue. Yeah.
Right.
What?
He
Yeah.
was
Whatever.
he wrote
Yeah.
a thread about that I was following Canada Box Natural, and it was all dollar stuff,
Yes.
right?
Yes. 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 He wrote a lot. Yes.
And there are a lot of folks in the past who've done that. So
Yep.
even though I'm playing my F5V5, guess what, Keith? I'm also doing my DNA and I'm also doing my natural at the same time.
Yeah.
So
When
yeah,
Yeah, yeah, no, you that's the philosophy of Kevin and a lot of the other great players on the forum is, you have to, you have your go-to, like his is 5D, yours is F5V5 now. And then, but you have to be aware of something that may come along that's obvious that you want to make a minor tweaks to. And, hats off. I mean, the more statistics you can keep an eye on, the better player you're going to be. So yes, absolutely, and one of the things, I wanted to bring up, we always talk about, and I talked about this the other day with Kevin on our last call. And, we always been talking about, and I want to get your opinion of it and thought process, about where to start. We always say, well, wait 10 hands, wait 20 hands. Same with Kevin's 5D, well, wait maybe 10, 15 hands to see if you see any disparity, or wait till you see disparity. And, I thought one of the things we don't say, and I thought it was probably even more important than how many hands have passed, is like, wait a certain number of columns to go past. Like, wait 4 or 5 columns. And, the first column might be 10 players and then 2 bankers and then 3 players and then a banker and a player. Now you've got 5 columns to look at rather than, saying, okay, well, I'm going to start after 10 hands. And I wonder if the F5V5, if that would be a consideration or if there's any advantage to that rather than saying, well, watch 10 hands, watch like 5 or 6 columns, no matter how long they are, and start after at least 6 columns or something along those lines. Have you ever given any thought to that? I mean, I just started thinking about it.
I'll let you on a little secret of how I play F5V5. I mean, I don't talk about this, but it's a general common sense that this is not a system, okay?
Right.
And nobody's telling you you got to wait 10 hands. You can wait 2 hands or you can wait 20 hands. It's up to you. The best way to approach this game is that when you miss the first 10 hands, don't play. Just kind of now play, but don't press your bets. Like, don't put any wages on. Okay, just wait for 15 hands and see how is the trend of your F5V5 working. Is it supporting you or is it going against you? Because I'll tell you a little secret. Like a couple of days ago, I went and played, and I didn't play the first 15 hands because it seemed like it was all over the place, as an example, right? Because this is what you're saying about columns, right? It seems to be like 5 bankers, 2 players, and then suddenly there's 1 banker and then 6 players, right? So it was all over the place. So what I did was I just kind of started you have to qualify the game when you want to start betting the.
That's a good way to put it. Qualify
the game.
Yeah.
The qualification of the game is not based on first 10 hands.
No.
The qualification of the game is when you plugging in this method, what is the outcome of it?
Yeah.
Okay, so did you win the first hand? Did you lose the next 3 hands? Meaning that when you skip a hand, you play like the system, the method says that play it this way, right?
Right.
So you lost 4. So what I was trying to say to you is that I started playing. So I call it virtual play. I don't really wage anything on the table. I'm just virtually playing it. So I'm playing it, and I realized I lost 4 in a row before I won my first bet. So already this is telling me that the way that this process for F5V5 works, it picks up the patterns in such a way that something that has happened now, will repeat itself later on. So it means there's a very good outcome of me losing another 4 in a row. There is usually once in a shoe I've noticed on an average, maybe 7 out of 10 shoes where I've lost 4 in a row maximum, not more than that, right?
Yeah.
And so whenever I lose 4 in a row, I kind of walk away from that specific shoe because I feel like it's going to repeat itself later on, and it has happened in the past. So it's from my experience and playing thousands of shoes using this method that when you lose 4, 5 in a row, you don't want to be playing that method anymore.
No, of course not. No.
Right?
And that goes with what I over the last couple posts I've been making here on social media and on the forum. I've posted, like I said, okay, well, I'm starting at the second half of November here, and I like 9 days in a row I won, and then somebody said, well, start in December too. So then I won the next day, and then I won the next day, and the trick to it is winning consistently. And playing within your means, and playing, me, I'm an advocate for folks playing small stakes, because you're going to play better because you're not stressed out over betting, $2,000 a hand like you see in the clickbait videos, and so it's easier to recover, and you keep your wits about you. You won't get into I got to get this money back mode, so. But the key to it is just what you said, is you kind of test the water, see how it would have did. And now the most important thing is sometimes, yes, of course you want to win. And I don't want to say the most important thing isn't winning, because that is the most important thing. But sometimes it's how little you lose so that you can stay in the game and recover. And I think Action Mike said at one time, he goes, look, man, if you're playing, if you're playing and your base bet is $25 and all of a sudden you find yourself down $1,000, you're not going to get your money back betting $25, man. And that's the situation that you want to avoid when you're starting. When you get a little bit ahead, then you can take a little bit of a shot at them and kind of go from there. But yes, I agree with you there. Test the waters, and we've always been a big advocate of that. To your other points, always looking for the other things. From my own experience, you'll never find a better game than, and I wrote this the other day in the forum. I posted, somebody was saying, how many days in a row did you win? Well, I have like 9 days in a row I won. And I was betting 10 and $15, making $100, $200, $170 consistently every day. I mean, that starts adding up to big wins after a while. But I posted some shoes and I said, I just have the patience to sit there and watch for strong side, which I've made more money on strong side than anything because it's easy. And if you think back, even with F5 and V5, you win the most. You win most of your wins in Baccarat are going to come from a streak, from a strong side, from 5 bankers in a row, 6 bankers in a row, 7 zigzags in a row. If you look back in your game, that's when you win. Everything else, you may get a chip here or a chip there, but most of it comes from those long streaks, and you want to look for that. And then secondly, and F5V5 covers this, is second liners. When second liners are prevalent, when they're attached and things like that, when that stuff happens, man, that's when you win. And if you have the discipline to sit there and wait for those games and play those games, or look for them, whether you're playing F5V5 or whatever approach you implement to get started, that's how you're going to beat the game. And that's what I do, and I like to see people do it too. And that's what we talk about all the time on the forum. So thank you.
If it's like almost every time I play, I have no problem waging $10 to $25 on ties. Okay,
I know.
With my experience playing ties and what I've posted on Beat the Casino about ties, if people haven't read that yet, you're making a big mistake, because if you are a $100 player and you can't afford to put $10 on ties where you can make extra units here and there,
right,
you're making a big mistake. Because every time I played, if I follow my own rules, which I always do, about how when a tie line comes or if a tie comes, you repeat the tie two times more.
Yeah,
it has almost happened every time in the shoe once at least, and that's all it takes.
It only takes once. Yeah. You're going to lose a couple, but it only takes once.
Right. But my point here is, Keith, that you're trying to win. You have to go with a plan. Every time you go to a casino, you go with a plan. So let's just say your plan was to win 5 units. So 5 units could be $10 or $100 or $500 a hand. Okay, whatever it is. Okay, that's your goal, right? You can make that in 5 minutes, or you can make that in 10 hours. That's up to you, right? But imagine that that's your goal, and you go and you follow the ties. And I know they're sucker bets, but if you follow them properly, and because my DNA really predicts very well based on the outcome of the cards in the past, it predicts the future, and it knows when to press for the tie is about to come. It happens all the time. So if I can grab 16 units here and there and lose 4, hey, I'm up 10 units.
That's right.
Which is almost equal to 10 winning hands.
Yeah. People are impressed with your tie stuff. And sometimes, they were skeptical, and it is interesting what you post about ties and your philosophy behind them. And, we've done many practice sessions and in the casino playing with Kevin and everybody in Vegas where, oh, look, Canada Bach hit that tie again. You had $20 on it. Yeah. So, it's very interesting, your tie approach. And, I did one where I said, well, when you see a tie, just, bet the minimum you can, like it's usually $5 if you're on Stadium or any other game. It's like bet it 8 more times. All you got to do is hit it 1 time and then you're done. So you wait for a tie and then bet it 8 more times. And, if they do cluster, if there's a theory behind them clustering, now I know you look deeper into the statistics. I've looked at it cursor, kind of anecdotally like that. And, some people have said, hey, that kind of works kind of cool every once in a while. I go, yeah, well, everything works every once in a while. But there's a lot of stuff that a lot of people post about ties on the forum. And you're certainly one of the most prolific trackers and watchers of the ties. And, it's very interesting stuff that you post about the ties. So thank you very much for that. So, well, listen, I'll let you go. I know you're back from Dubai there. You said they're building a casino somewhere close by over there. Can you give us
a city
details?
like an hour away from Dubai. I didn't get a chance to visit it, but it's still in works. It's going to take another year or two, I guess. I think Win is casinos are building it, so it's going to be I can't even say the word. It's so good. I mean, it's going to be amazing.
Get it out.
It's going to be amazing.
Well, if Wynn's doing it, I'm sure they're doing it right. And if it's in Dubai, I'm sure it's like Beverly Hills on
go for the opening
steroids. What's that?
We should go for the opening when it happens.
Yeah, we should. But I want to get you down. Kevin is coming in. I think he said February here. We're going to do something in Atlantic City. So put that on your calendar.
February is like minus 20 degrees. It's the worst time to come.
Well, no. Down here, it's not minus 20 down there. I came up to your place when it was minus 20 that one time. Now, we were sitting there in the casino looking out over Niagara Falls and it was frozen.
Right.
I'm like, dude, you ain't getting me up here again.
February is a cold month, man. You got to do the spring break thing.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. But, like I said, it isn't that cold here then. And, we just want to hit a couple casinos and maybe play together a little bit. So, so maybe we can. So, all right, Canada, listen, thanks a lot. I'm sure I'm glad you're back and, everybody can see you in the forum and thank you for all your wisdom and insights. Okay.
Take care. Bye.
Thanks. Bye-bye.